I chose Mount Hood National Forest in the summer of 2019 because I didn't want company. Not the social kind, at least. I was 34. Training for a longer track later that year, and I needed quiet. Mild, steady rhythm. No interruptions, no small talk. Just movement and breath. I did everything right. I texted a friend my trailhead and returned time. I parked near no vehicles. I packed water snacks. A headlamp I hoped would stay unused. My air stayed in my pocket. I've always believed awareness matters more than motivation. The trail welcomed me, the way Oregon trails too. Cool air, damp pine needles. That deep forest hush that makes you lower your voice. Without realizing it, I felt grounded, focused, comfortable in my own pace. About 20 minutes in, I heard footsteps behind me. It didn't register as a threat. Trails or sheds someone hiking at a similar speed happens all the time. The sound wasn't close, just present, steady, measured, but it didn't fade. One bent pass, then another. The distance stayed exactly the same. When the trail widened, I stepped aside and slowed trail that I had a clear invitation to pass. The footsteps drew closer and then stayed behind me. No greeting, no on your left. No attempt to pass, even though there was plenty of room. That's when the quiet inside me changed. I tested it, I sped up slightly. The footsteps sped up too. I slowed again, shortened my strut. They slowed with me. I stopped, crouched, pretended to adjust my shoe, stayed down longer than necessary. The footsteps stopped. I listened for a treat. There was none when I stood and continued. They resumed immediately. I kept my tone casual and glanced back. Hey, good morning. No answer, not even a cough. Not a shift of weight. The trail narrowed after the roots. Rocks, tight curves. Passing would have required effort. Now he stayed behind me. That's when I noticed what I didn't hear. No water sloshing, no zipper pulls. No trekking poles, no jacket fabric. Just footsteps at a fork. I took the less obvious path. The one with fewer prints and more debris. Not because it felt safer, but because I needed to break the pattern. The footsteps followed instantly. I wasn't panicked yet, but my body was preparing. The kind of alertness that feels heavy, like something is loading behind your ribs. I caught a partial glimpse of him around the curve. Neutral clothes, average build. Middle age, maybe nothing remarkable, except he had no backpack. Out here, everyone carried something. I needed witnesses, not people. Ahead was a small clearing used for photos open to the trail. I stepped into it and stopped. If he was just another hiker, this was where he'd pass. I didn't. He stopped too close. Enough that I could hear his feet settle into the dirt. I turned slowly. He stood partly behind a tree, angled so he could see me without fully stepping into view. We locked eyes, then he spoke. You're doing great, he said. Keep going. It didn't sound encouraging. It sounded observational, instructional, like commentary from someone who'd been watching longer than I knew. I didn't answer. I didn't smile. I turned back to the trail and walked faster. Now controlled, my shoulders burned. Not from effort, but from awareness. His footsteps returned immediately. I pushed on until the trail merged with a busier section. You hear it before you see it. Voices, laughter, pulse striking rock. When I saw two hikers ahead, relief hit hard. I caught up to them quickly. Hey, I said, forcing normal into my voice. Mind if I walk with you for a bit? They nodded. The woman gave me a look that said she understood without asking. I glanced back once he was still there. 30 yards behind, then another group passed between us, and he was gone. I finished the hike with those strangers. Thanked them too many times. Walked to my car with my keys threaded between my fingers, feeling foolish and doing it anyway. Nothing happened in the lot, but when I reached my trunk, I noticed a smear in the dust near my license plate. Not a clear print, more like a palm drag. I haven't opened my trunk since arriving. That's when it hit me. He didn't need to catch me on the trail. He only needed to learn my pace. I used to give safety speeches. Quick ones, routine checklist style. Tell someone where you're going. Don't rely on your phone. Don't leave the trail. Don't chase sounds in the dark. I said it so often, it stopped feeling personal. Then, in the summer of 2021, the Wasatch Range taught me the difference between advice and reality. It was a night to work hike. I wanted that earned exhaustion. No overnight plan, no pack. Just water, a snack, and enough daylight to catch the sunset. The area feels safe. That's the trick. You can hear the highway if the wind shifts. See neighbors far below. It makes you relax when you shouldn't. The trailhead was half full. A few hikers coming down. One run blasting past like he was being chased. As I climbed the trail, emptied. Normal for the hour, then I heard a voice, "Help." It came from off the trail, down through the brush. I stopped instantly, reflex. Your body always pauses before your brain finishes the sentence. I leaned towards the sound. I should have been able to see someone if they were that close. I couldn't just brush. Uneven ground, a shower dip where the trail curved. I called back loudly, "Hey, are you okay?" A pause. Then help over here, no strain, no urgency, it sounded placed. I told myself people react strangely when hurt. Panic, freeze, and there's a trap in that word help. If you walk away and someone truly needs you, that stays with you, so I followed my own rules. I stayed on the trail, moved forward a few steps for a better angle. "Where are you?" No answer. "Just help over here," same phrase. Same rhythm the next time, it came from slightly left. Just enough to notice. That's when the unease sharpened. The voice wasn't reacting. It was guiding. I asked again, "What's wrong? Are you injured?" Pause. "Help over here." I should have turned around then. Clean choice, logical choice. But social pressure fills in consequences for you. What if you're wrong? What if someone is hurt? I stepped forward against two on the trail until I could see a small, flat area between rocks. "No person, no pack," I said. "I can't see you. Can you come up to the trail?" The voice answered from deeper brush. Thick now, a place that required stepping off the trail. That's when it stopped being ambiguous. I stepped off anyway, one step. My boot hit flat and dirt smooth, worn like someone had stood there long enough to press it down. If someone was injured, they wouldn't be standing still. If someone was waiting, they would. I froze, then I heard movement behind a bush. Not crashing away like an animal. Not careless, controlled, quiet. The voice spoke again, but this time it didn't say help. It said, "Are you okay?" My words and my cadence, like hearing your voice played back through a damaged speaker. That's when clarity hit. This wasn't someone needing help. I stepped back onto that trail and walked. Not running. Running makes noise. Running makes mistakes. I kept my pace. Even my posture relaxed. Footsteps followed immediately. I paused like I was checking my phone. They stopped. I walked. They walked ahead. I spotted another hiker. Bright shirt, slow pace. I called out like we were friends. He waved the footsteps, vanished. I didn't finish the loop. I went straight back to my car. My hand shook when I unlocked it. Not fear, just release. I called it in, kept it factual. Repeated help call, voice shifted location. Mimic my words, followed on the trail. The response was polite thing. "We'll keep an eye out." A week later, I mentioned that it worked. An older local guy didn't look surprised. "Yeah," he said, "people do this sometimes. Try to pull you into the brush." After that, I added one more line to my safety speech. If someone asks for help and it doesn't sound right, don't try to be a hero when no one can see what you're stepping into. This happened back in 2017 in the Superior National Forest. At the time, I was working as a veterinary technician in Duluth, and my life was just not constant noise. Phones ringing, animals in distress, owners breaking down, emergencies stacking on top of each other. No matter how fast you moved, it always felt like you were already behind. So whenever my schedule lined up just right, I started doing short, solo, overnight trips. Not to prove anything, not for thrill seeking. I just wanted to be somewhere that didn't need me every second. Out there, things were simple. You ate when you were hungry. You slept when it got dark. And the forest was never truly quiet, which strangely was comforting. Noiseman life, I brought my dog Judy with me. Medium-sized mutt, smart, stubborn, always alert, but never aggressive. She wasn't trained for protection. She just noticed things, and that mattered. The campsite wasn't deep wilderness. One of those roadside forest sites. Firing metal grate, thick trees, blocking your view in every direction. Other camps were scattered around the lake. But once night fell, you couldn't see any of them. If someone had a lantern on, you might catch a faint glow through the trees. Mostly, it felt like your own sealed-off pocket of darkness. I set up the tent, while Judy made slow patrol loops around the clearing. I cooked a simple meal, watched the light turn black as the sun disappeared, checked my food hand twice, because I always do, brushed my teeth with my headlamp on, and quietly laughed at how dramatic that felt. I wasn't nervous, I wasn't tense. I was tired, the good kind of tired. Around midnight, the fire burned down to glowing coals. I zipped into my sleeping bag with a paper bag. Judy curled up outside near my feet. The normal nighttime soundtrack was going strong, Bugs, frogs, water moving small rustles in the brush that didn't mean anything, and then it stopped, not gradually. Not like when dying down, it just ended. No insects, no frogs, no background texture at all. The silence was so sudden, I held my breath without realizing it. Judy's head snapped up instantly. Her whole body went rigid, ears forward, staring straight at the tent wall like she could see through it. My first thought was stupid and automatic. Did my headlamp die? Then I heard it. A branch snapping. One clean sound like someone pressing a stick until it broke. I waited another snap. Different direction, I whispered Judy's name. She didn't move. I turned my phone flashlight on and danged it at the tent wall, making the nylon glow pale and thin. Tree shadows shifted faintly. Nothing else, I told myself. It was probably an animal. Maybe a deer, something big enough to quiet things down. But animals don't silence an entire forest all at once. Another snap closer. Now I could place it near the fire ring. Near the cooler, I turned the light off again. Being illuminated suddenly felt wrong. Snap another direction. I sat up slowly. The silence pressed in, so heavy I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Do you let out a low, uncertain rumble? Not a warning, not aggression. Assessment that was worse. I reached for my keys, my phone. My bear spray in my hands felt stiff, clumsy like they belonged to someone else. Snap close enough that I didn't have to guess where it came from. Then another and another slow. Evenly spaced, it was moving around the campsite right, left behind like someone checking things. That's when the thought hit me, sharp and humiliating. This is the moment people make a bad decision in stories. And I hated that thought because this wasn't a story. This was my tent, my car, my campsite. I unzipped the tent as quietly as I could. The sound felt impossibly loud. Duty slipped out first low to the ground, pressed tight against my leg like she'd suddenly learned the new rules. The clearing looked completely normal. That was the cruel part, firing chair cooler. Trees exactly where they'd been all day. But the forest was still silent. I moved fast, too fast. My footsteps louder than I wanted. I didn't look into the trees for long. I didn't want to see something and have my brain lock onto it. I got into the car, slammed the door, locked it immediately. I didn't start the engine. The idea of the noise felt like announcing myself. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then snap just outside the reach of my headlights. Near the firing, I gripped the steering wheel, the best brace that useless in my lap, as I stared through the windshield, trying to see movement between the trunks. Eventually, the forest sounds returned slowly. Bugs first, then water, then wind. That almost made it worse, because it made it easier to pretend nothing had happened. I didn't sleep. I waited for the sky to lighten, for the trees to become trees again in the morning. Nothing was obviously wrong. Pine needles and